the Negro still is not free.
We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights. Manifest how great you are. Dream about your greatness. Come hell or high water, I'm going after my
greatness, greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. Greatness. How can I fake this humbly gracious to have this greatness, greatness? Greatness. Every time I wake, this greatness takes this black man higher places. Greatness. Elevated magic strapped to my back with the fact that I deserve higher praises. Greatness. Based on my race. Last place is the only status. Place in the basement with no way out. What's the basis? Look around. All I see are familiar faces with that greatness gazes. Make me wonder what this baseless, tasteless trace of races. Pointless to think you can keep me down and back in cages. Shackle minds like gap teeth with the rubber band embraces. Breaking chains every day that oppress my people for ages. Faceless acts of rages because of what my race is. I'm gonna say this price is way too high. Who's gonna pay this? Conversations of reparations ain't even enough to erase this. Can't get enough of us. We're on your favorite playlist, but you play us out. Just comply and fucking take this. I now see my greatness and I know you really hate this. You can't debate this. I define what my inner grace is. If it's a true test from God, then I'm gonna ace this. Is this guy within me? I'm not gonna waste it. Every day the media portray cop car chases of people with the same faces, which is nothing but misguided greatness. Driving aimless and hungry, not knowing death is what that taste is. Gripping tight on the wheel. Jesus, take this. Gripping hard on that steel, death or jail is what my fate is. Survival by any means is the meal. Don't forsake this. There should be more for us. Life can play tricks. Where's our Morpheus? We're stuck in a matrix. Reflections of our Savior has been blurred by all this fake shit. Looking to the sky for hope is done or quite pervasive. Killing those who find the knowledge quite persuasive. Once I'm labeled as abrasive, soon to follow evasive. Savage is what we're told the angry black man is laced with. Change the context, change the narrative with what we're graced with. Pop that chain of mental restraint and fly like we are weightless. Mother Nature has the key. Please open the gate, man. I'm here to claim my throne. Don't step on my cake, man. Black Panther to the bone. No need to rate this. Greatness, greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. Make sure you get to take this and loop back for all the late kids. All the boys and girls who don't think that their lives are precious. All the people who feel circumstances are a death wish. All the talent within that we are blessed with should be acknowledged, not demolished by the oppressor. That's our true resume. Extremely impressive. I got nothing left to say, but speak and send it for that greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. We have a long road ahead to overcome this blatant hatred. We have a long road ahead to overcome this blatant hatred. Damn.
Warning. For viewers sensitive to issues of race, be advised that the following piece contains gratuitous use of the N-word. And by N-word, I mean nigger. There, I said it.
Yeah, brother, what do you want?
You ain't no kin to me.
That's right, and we ain't your brothers. How come you college motherfuckers think y'all run everything?
Hey, is there a problem here? Big problems.
I heard that. You come to our town year after year and take over. We was born here, gonna be here, and gonna die here, and can't find jobs because of you.
Yeah. Right. Can we go? Okay, can we just
go? We may not have your education, but we ain't dirt neither.
And ain't nobody said all of that, all right?
You mission punks always talking down to us.
Look, brother, I'm real sorry that you feel that way, okay? I'm really sorry about that.
Are you black?
Take a look in the mirror, man. Look, man, you got a legitimate beef, all right? But it ain't with us, okay?
Are you black?
Hey, look, man, don't ever question the fact whether I'm black.
Now, I bet you niggas do think y'all white. College don't mean shit. Y'all niggas. And you gonna be niggas forever, just like us, niggas. You're not niggas. You're not niggas. You're not niggas.
YouTube. What's good? Hope everybody doing good tonight. We're going to actually do a couple things tonight that might be uncomfortable, but we're going to get through it together. Welcome to the second episode of Wanted, the voice within organized chaos. I am Identity Withheld. Do not mind my second soundtrack in the background. That's my little baby girl. She can be on the chat or whatever she want to do. Today she wants to do the vocals, so she's going to be with Dad. So don't mind that. Try drowning that out. Won't work, so now I got to accept it. So anyway, welcome back. I will be touching on something that's a little serious today, but I also want to have some fun with it. Don't get me wrong. You know how I do. You know how I have my fun. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to definitely need other perspectives on this panel. I really don't want to come out of. I could ramble on this topic all day, every day. I've been doing it on so many chats. It's ridiculous, and so many lives. I really want to actually hear another perspective other than my own because I know what my perspective is. So I am going to immediately drop the link because I want someone other than myself to be either answering questions or anything else. But again, mostly it's for me to get a different perspective. These things have been rattling in my head for the longest. And I will copy. I will put it in the chat. Give me 1 second. As soon as I figure that out. Of course, I'm still learning. So, this is only episode 2. So my movements on these little tiny activities can take a little longer than usual. So trying to set it up so I can do it immediately. And this is the best way. All right, cool. So again, I would love another perspective on this topic. The topic today is we're going to be talking about I am a real nigga. And I say that because I can't use N-word in the title. I didn't want that showing up on a YouTube search. So anybody that actually wants to talk about this and not have to buffer that word, that's fine. I don't plan on buffering that word. It's been used quite a bit throughout the history of anybody of melanated skin in this country for hundreds of years. So I'm not going to shy away from it now. So either way. So what I wanted to do was open up first and talk about just in plain text, the word itself, the lineage of the N-word or nigga, as some people might say. Nobody, that's not directed to anybody. But yeah, so let me see. Actually, first, I'm sorry. Let me thank any and everybody that's listening to this voice out there. I know I saw Beautiful in the house. She was in early. I love you for that. Thank you. You becoming a best friend of mine as well. Defrauding charlatans, you know how we do. We keep it going in the background. No emails or text that needs to be exploited here, so don't worry about it. Mrs. VSN, you know how we do. Karma 52, nice. Brian Dennis, what's up? Brixton, peace. Danny Brown. Honey Bee is in the house. Okay, so my soul is somewhat at rest right now. I'm good. I'm more grounded right now. Thank you. Brother of a certain age. I do know who you are. You know how we rock. We good. Limitless Jones in the house. Nice. I wish I had Star up here to read these things because now I see how important her job is. I'm not going to pick on her from this point on, people. I'm not going to pick on her anymore. But yeah, I am trying to run a show too. So Theo's in the house. Clark, haven't seen you in a while, Clark. Where have you been? Haven't seen or heard you, you haven't heard you on a panel in a while. Okay, so now back to just understanding how deep I want to go with this. This is definitely a topic that typically people don't want to address with anyone outside their circle, because it's a very sensitive topic. You damn sure can't use it at work, and now it's getting banned at, some of the professional leagues like the NFL and all that stuff. So it's a huge topic, but in order to get through it, you have to get through it. You have to talk about it. You have to be able to just sit down and have a discussion of it. So I want to start by just giving a really quick background of just where the hell did that, the N-word or nigger, whatever way you want to put it. It's all derivations of the same root. So, so I did my Googles. I did more research than that, but I did my Googles, and originally the word is literally just bastardized versions of Niger, root with roots in in the Latin language. It didn't initially become nigger until the inception of slavery. Now that's sort of vague because I don't know if it was before, or if it was up to, but I know it was included when slavery hit the scene. So that word has been floating around for quite a while. And then somewhere around the 1700s, it turned into Negro. I think it was getting more of a political definition, not political, but a more substantial definition of the word. And it has Spanish roots, but it definitely was, it was given a definition, right? It was given a definition. All of them are derivations of the word Niger, and it's all, related to the color of black or the hue of black. But when it became the nigger, it became more of a derogatory slap at the people of lower class, if you want to put it that way. But it became more popularized because people of color were classified as Negroidian or Negroids. And Negro sort of grew out of that for quite a while. I think that was the word that actually carried the longest. And contrary to what most people believe, the term black was not around that long. The term black was not around that long. Early, quarter 1900s, somewhere around there, 1940s, 50s. The term black was not like widely known. So once that word dropped, I think that's around the time where people of color started to become more of a, I don't know, more proud of the title, right? That's when it was like a big thing to be proud of who you are. If that's what I am, if black is what I am, then damn it, I'm black and proud. So that movement hit hard. That movement was like, if you denounce being black, then you don't deserve being black. That's where that comes from. But all this time, all the way up to the point where we became African American in the late 80s. I think that was like 88 when that term was dropped. I think Jesse Jackson dropped that term. And then it became from black to African American, but people were still rocking with the black. And so you have people out here arguing whether or not they're black or African American. Understand, it's still a derivation of a derivation of a derivation. We're arguing semantics here, and I wish that more people understood the root of it all, because they probably wouldn't be using it the way they do. Including myself. I am not saying that I knew this coming out the womb. Hell no. Hell, I used the NIGGA quite a few times, not to necessarily hurt anybody, but yeah, it's pretty ingrained in the language and the culture. And so the NIGGA, so that was another thing I kind of stumbled on, of just the history of that. And I was a little bothered when I found out that a lot of people believe that hip hop birthed that term, or at least made it popular. Understand, when hip hop hit the scene, if the word nigga was in a song in early stages of hip hop, that means that word existed before hip hop hit the scene. it was already ingrained in the language. It was already ingrained in the lifestyles of just how people talk. And, you know, hey, put a microphone in front of them, they're rapping. And boom, you got NWA. You got all these groups that were using it back then. It wasn't a big deal because it was already part of the culture and the movement of hip hop, or at least the birth of hip hop. So I don't like the idea that, you know, that's another thing to blame hip hop on. You know, hey, hip hop ain't shit because, you know, look what they gave black people. That to me says, yeah, you didn't dig deep enough, because, you know, if you really dug deep enough, you probably wouldn't like what you find. So I went through the lineage. It's a euphemism, the N-word, euphemism for nigger. Yeah, we got all that. So what I wanted to talk about was, how do we handle this? Because this is like an ongoing topic everywhere you go when you're talking about, you know, how black people can use it, but nobody else can use it, and all these other different things. Understand, we were never part of the committee that defined it as a people. We didn't define it. We were given that. Somehow we got either duped or tricked or even just manipulated into believing that that's what we are. That's what you got to be. So that's what we are. And that's where we are now. We still are in that pocket of, I should be proud to be black. I'm not saying you shouldn't be proud to be who you are or what you are, but understand that label was given to us. Just like African American, just like black, just like Negro, just like nigger, and just like nigger, whatever way you want to put it. We were given that term. So when did it become a term of endearment? Yeah, that's an argument that, you know, it's debatable. But, you know, what I don't want to do is say, you know, hip hop's the reason. I saw that in so many of my research endeavors, that was like, why is this? It was almost like an easy, you know, I can put my finger on this, so we're good. We're good. You know, we found the root. It's hip hop. No, and I'm not saying that because I'm a fan of hip hop. So let me see what I'm going to do. So again, I would love for anyone to come up. I'm about to actually get into another video to sort of shed some light on the next shift of this conversation. I just wanted to go through a little bit of history with what we're dealing with here. And let me see what's going on in the chat. I haven't been in here since I've been reading off my my PowerPoint slides, not my whiteboard, my PowerPoint slides. I'm a little more technology advanced. Good afternoon, bro. Hey, what's up, Unadulterated? It's good to see you back. You got your cap on sideways, my toothpick in my mouth, my cat on my lap. Wow. I like that. That's cool. So yeah, again, tap in when you can. I'm going to keep going until, I mean, you guys can keep listening to me ramble. That's fine. But like I said, part of this is for me to learn an avenue that I may not have traveled or experience I may not know. I'm on these YouTube streets trying to learn as well. And hopefully I can teach as much as I can learn. That's just kind of the bag that I'm trying to get into. So what is a real N-word? Dare I say it? Yeah, I'm going to say it the way I said it when I opened it up. What is a real nigga? Does that sound good? I think that was good. Yeah, I think that was good. So let's go into. Hey, baby, how you doing? Daddy's working. Let's get into the 3 reasons or the 3 criterion that I came up with. These are identity thoughts that I came up with of what constitutes being a real nigga. Now, first and foremost, right off the bat, the skin tone must be darker than a paper bag. For those who know that reference, you old school, probably older than me, because I got that when I was maybe like 15 when I first heard that. But yeah, the skin tone, That's usually the first indicator of some people thinking that's what you got to have. You have to have a dark skin tone or some level of brown to even be considered a real nigga. Okay. I may or may not agree with that. I don't know. But either way, this is what I deduced all of the factors down to. The second, speech. Somehow, a real nigga knows that street dialect, knows that slang, knows that local, I can say certain things and only people really understand me or are from the streets. And that, that level of dialect is what I'm talking about, not just basic slang, like, Ebonics or something goofy like that. No, I'm talking about that street language that, when someone says a certain thing, a certain thing. It's time to get up out of there or it's time to defend yourself. That type of level. So that's number 2. And number 3, presence. You got to be intimidating. You got to scrunch your face up. You got to squint one eye. You almost got to put some bass in your voice and growl a little bit, I guess. I don't know. But yeah, it's a level of intimidation. Threatening demeanor, just in case someone challenges your blackness. Yes, you have to be able to defend that at any point. That's what real niggas do. You got to defend it, even if it doesn't make sense. But you got to defend it. So anyway, oh boy, my little baby girl's body bagging me now. Sorry about that. So I am going to. Oh, I already did that. Criteria for the real nigga. You see it at the bottom. I definitely feel like those actually represent what a real N-word is. If someone challenges me on that, that's fine. I'm listening. I'm paying attention. I'm not going to assume that these are the only, but these are definitely the ones that I came up with. So I will jump into a little bit of a life experience with that. So as some of you know, I like telling more descriptive stories. So I'll give you a visual. So I'm probably in fifth grade, going to school, just moved to a new neighborhood. It's not a great neighborhood, but the school I actually went to was mixed. So I had a bunch of white kids, black kids, Spanish, all that stuff. And the class that I was in, actually the younger classes had a couple, maybe like a third of it was white kids. And I never experienced someone calling me nigga. That was the first time I ever heard it in my life to me. Now I've heard it on the streets, like since I was a kid. Like it wasn't a big deal to hear it. People around you say it, conversations, adults saying it around you. But the first time I ever heard it towards me. Now, the reason why I'm telling you this story is because something came over me when that moment happened. I'm literally in the school playground playing a little kickball, this and that, having fun, fifth grade. How much trouble in my life could I have in the fifth grade, fourth grade? I'm a young kid playing games in the recess. And then we get in line up to go back into school. One kid felt like he should be in front of me, which I think we had a hierarchy of height, who gets in front of who, shortest in front, tallest in back, that type thing. I get in line. I'm thinking I'm taller than this guy just by a little bit. Why is he in front? Like, why is he trying to get in front of me? And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And he said some words, but the only word I heard out of his mouth that I remember clear as day was nigga. White kid, little white kid said this to me. First time I ever heard it. I don't know what came over me. This may sound funny, but I don't know what came over me. But I dropped my Incredible Hulk lunch pail. The damn thing popped open. The thermos pot rolled off. The sandwich fell out. I dropped all my shit. And I hit this white boy with every piece of blackness I had in me. Now, I had no idea why I did it. But that, to me, was my introduction in being a real nigga. You ain't gonna. It was something that rage just popped in me. Like it. I don't have history of slavery at that time. I didn't even know slavery what it was back then. I just knew I'm not supposed to let you even say that out your mouth to me, and I snapped. Yeah, needless to say, I got suspended. They were asking me why'd you hit him, and the funny thing is, I was too embarrassed to even tell the story. I was too embarrassed to say the word because I was around my principal, I was around my teachers, and some of them were white. I mean, not many of them were black, but some were whites. Some were Spanish, and I just was so embarrassed to even tell the story that I just took whatever punishment was coming my way. Again, I was in my real nigga. I was in that. Whatever. Take it on it, whatever. But I'm not proud of that. Now that I think back to it, I'm not proud of that. But as a kid, that was my experience, and I didn't know how to handle it. Nobody taught me, sat me down and said, look, when somebody says this to you, blah, 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 blah. Now, I now know how important it is for me to do that for my child. I now know I got to have as many conversations about this thing instead of them going out in the world and experiencing it and be like, what the hell is this? I wasn't prepared. Now, granted, I'm only in 4th, 5th grade. I mean, what's the worst that's going to happen? You get suspended. Excuse me. You get suspended. You get, written up, whatever. I don't give a damn. That's not a big deal. But at the time, it was a big deal. But I definitely understand now the ignorance I had how that played a role. Now, I'm not saying I should have been all philosophical and why do you call me a nigga? No, that's not what I'm saying. But I think I would have been much more equipped to actually handle that had I had someone sit me down and explain to me something about it before it was just a lot to deal with. And I don't even know if I told my mom the whole story. I don't even think I did. I just got in trouble and that was it. Got on punishment. I got out. But when I tell you, I felt like a champion when I landed that punch. Now, mind you, I couldn't hit for shit back then. I didn't know, tighten the wrist, straighten the wrist so you don't crack it. I didn't know all that stuff. I just, like I said, I threw my lunch pail down and went off. Just one punch. But it felt like a movie scene. I literally just threw my jacket and everything down. I wish I could have recorded that because it sounds hilarious now. But I don't even know who that kid was. I don't even remember his face. Like I said, I blacked out, for lack of a better word, and I lost it. Was it the smart thing to do? Nah, not really. Because I mean, that could have been avoided, but it definitely was something for him to say that. So I'm not going to take all the heat for that. That wasn't just identity, just like, hey, you're wrong for that. Well, hey, he did run his mouth, so he's going to get dealt with, right? So that's my personal story. So, sorry, I'm getting these banners together. Stop that. So the question right now that I wanted to address, and I see unadulterated here. 1 second, bro. I'm adding you right now. There we go. What's good, bro?
I can't complain. And y'all got to pardon me because I got 2 screens here. So I'm seeing myself looking this way instead of looking this way. For whatever reason, I'm more comfortable. But
you good, bro.
Yeah, but we all, most of us, especially if you've been in multicultural environments, like you said, and from what I understand, I think you mentioned that you lived in Philly. So, we've gone to schools in diverse, with diverse student bodies, etc. And it'll trigger you if you hear that word coming from a voice other than what you're used to. You can be in the schoolyard playing ball and you can hear it 50 times during the course of a game. Pass the ball, nigga. What you doing, nigga? You know what I mean?
Right.
You hear it coming from a voice other than what you recognize as that of a black person. When you hear that, it's like, whoa, who said that? You know what I mean? And that's when it becomes a problem. And like you said, at that point, it's almost like we're programmed and I guess in essence, probably rightfully so, to respond almost in a certain manner, and we don't really regard whatever the consequences are. And you said yours happened at school. I remember a situation, and it literally, let me see. When I think about it, it's almost 30 years ago. We used to play ball over in New Jersey, and on every Wednesday night we played ball. So this one night we're coming back, and it was the final game, the year that Michael Jordan beat the Lakers. They won their very first championship. So we had played ball, and we were headed back coming back over the bridge, but we realized we weren't going to make it in time to watch the game. So we stopped at this little restaurant in Cherry Hill. I think it was on like 37 or something like that. We stopped in this little restaurant that had a bar area to watch the final game there. And it was some people there, looked like a little after work crowd, maybe I think it was like maybe 4 women and 3 or 4 guys. And this one guy kept looking at us like, what were we doing? Just me and one buddy of mine. Like, what were we doing in this particular bar? And he was making little remarks all through the course of the game. And we were just maybe 5 or 6 seats down the bar from them. He's making little remarks all through the course of the game, and obviously wanting to get little responses, snickers from his friends and whatnot. So after the game, I was already pissed that the Lakers lost. So they had done a little interview with Michael Jordan after the game. And the guy, as soon as the interview ended, the guy says to no one in particular, just among his little group of friends, all right, so you won your championship. Now take your nigger ass back to the ghetto where you belong. And then he turned and looked down the bar at my buddy and I. And of course, smoke was coming out of my ears. And I would never have done this under any other circumstances that I can think of. But I walked in the midst of him and his friends, and I have never spit at anyone in my life. I spit in his face, and I said, you wanted the attention. Now, if you want to do something, I'll be in the men's room. And I went in the men's room and waited if he wanted to do something. And 2 of his buddies came in. They apologized. Oh, he was drunk. Sorry about that, bro. Yada, yada, yada. And I said, no, he was doing it all night long, and he got what he wanted. Now, what's he want to do now? And by that time, I went back out, and fortunately, all of his friends saw how ignorant he had been. They called the police. The bartender explained to the police officer what had happened. And the police officers didn't really say much to me at all about it. But like you said, when you're triggered, sometimes you just deal with it on the spot, and the consequences be damned. And that's one of those words and one of those situations that's going to get you there. You like to think that you grow beyond it, but sometimes you're almost on autopilot when something like that happens. You know what I mean?
I think I called it blacking out because I don't remember anything after the punch, right? It just happened, and then it was like, what the hell was that? Like, I didn't even know why I did it. It just came out.
Yeah. So, I mean, I wasn't proud of it, obviously, but like I said, sometimes things happen, and you just got to let the chips fall where they may. And sometimes you just have to let people know it's certain bridges that they can't cross with you, and maybe that'll stop them from doing it with the next person. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
right.
But yeah, I remember that like it was yesterday. But
So what do you think about I guess my criteria for what's considered a real?
It's one of those things where it's almost like a double-edged sword, because that in certain environments, being able to at least activate to that level is what's going to get you the respect that you have to have in order to survive. Because if people think they can punk you whenever they feel like it, you're never going to have any peace. So at some point, you have to be able to tap into what is going to get you the respect that you need to be able to just move about from day to day in different environments. You know what I mean?
Right.
But in terms of just embracing the negativity that is, is kind of the connotation that comes with that label, I don't know that we all want to do that, because then you have the negative aspects, people making certain presumptions about you based on how you might carry yourself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So we can't want to exude a certain negative energy and then get offended when people respond in the way that they feel. It's like, oh my God, I just walked past this woman's car and she's locking her door. Well, she picked up on that energy that you were exuding. You know what I mean? So you can't have it both ways. If that's what you want to put out there and you're comfortable with that, then deal with the way people are going to respond to that, because it's a lot of people that are really, really afraid of that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you're familiar. You said you're from Philly. Is that correct?
I am from Philly, born in Northeast Philly.
Okay.
Raised in North Philly.
Mm-hmm.
Well, not born in Northeast. Yeah, Northeast.
Okay.
But everything but Southwest.
Okay. So I got a funny story for you. I grew up in Winfield. I think I told you that before. I grew up in Winfield, right off of City Avenue. I was born in West Philly, right at 49th and Walnut. I think we moved to Winfield when I was like 7, right? So I went to Gompers Junior High School. I went to Masterman. So I used to catch the 44 every day going to school. 44 goes down City Line, then down the expressway, right? So that was like my little, I guess, the crowd that I was used to seeing, the white people going to work in town, coming from like Bala Kenwood and Ardmore and all that kind of stuff, and getting on the bus early in the morning, right? So when I was grown and so I was working downtown, I lived downtown for a while, but then I moved back to Winfield right after my mom got sick. So this one day I'm on the 44 coming home, right? So the bus wasn't crowded that day at all. And I don't even know why, what made me sit in the very first seat as soon as you get on the bus. I'm sitting like right across from the driver, right? And the bus wasn't crowded at all. So I'm hearing this conversation when the bus left downtown, got on the expressway, it's coming up the expressway, and I'm hearing this conversation in the back of the bus. But it was between a dude who was sitting right by the back door and another guy who was sitting literally on the very back row, right? So I'm thinking to myself, like, well, damn, if they talking to each other, why don't they sit closer? You know what I mean? Instead of just talking long distance conversation, right? And then I picked up the fact that it was like some hostile tone in the conversation, right? So through the midst of it all, I kind of figured that the guy in the back seat who was dressed like suit and tie, briefcase, literally, he used to date the other guy's sister. And evidently there had been some accusations of abuse going back and forth, right?
Wow.
So when the bus got to City Line, it pulled up by like Saks Fifth Avenue. No, was it Saks? Yeah, Saks Fifth Avenue, pulled up there, and then it got to the Bala Kenwood Shopping Center. So the guy in the suit, he was about to get off
Monument Road or something. I'm picturing Monument Road. Exactly. Yes.
So dude was about to get off right outside of Lord and Taylor's. So when he got to the door, he rang the thing. He's standing at the door, and so the guy who he was kind of disputing with stood up like, all right, let's get off. Let's get off, right? So he's behind him. So, but the guy didn't get off. So he waits to the next stop, and he goes to get off the bus. The guy behind him, I thought they was going to get off together, but the guy behind him grabbed the poles right there, lifted up both feet, and drop kicked the dude all the way off the bus. The dude like did a front flip off the bus, right? And I guess he thought that the doors was going to close. He was going to have the little laugh and what have you, and that was going to be the end of it. But for whatever reason, the bus driver didn't close the door. The other dude, now I'm looking down toward the back of the bus, watching this. All his expression went from laughter to utter terror, right? And he turns and starts running for the front of the bus. The other dude jumps back on with like one of them bread knives that that like they cut the hoagies with.
Right.
Big John's, right? And I'm telling you, it would have been one of them situations. It's a good thing the bus was empty, because it would have been one of them situations where he stabbed this guy like 64 times or something crazy. But the dude ran off the front of the bus. The other guy was right on his heels, and he ran off the front of the bus. And he chased this guy in rush hour traffic right down the middle of city line. But I said that to say that all of those white people on the bus that witnessed that had never, that was headed to Arden, Narberth, and Lower Merion, and all those little tiny suburbs that had never really had any interaction with black people, no real interaction. I was thinking to myself, I wonder what the conversation is going to be like around all of those dinner tables.
Right.
That night, and in that moment, they kind of like reinforced a lot of the negative stereotypes that a lot of white people have in the back of their minds about us. What I mean? For good or for bad. And I'll often wonder, I don't even know what the hell happened to them, because like I said, they ran down City Line. I think the guy ran down one of the little streets there. It was before the Ballot Bridge. So like it used to be an apartment there. It's probably been long gone. But again, the people that witnessed that, I'm sure it left an impression on them, because it was damn near, I for sure would have witnessed a murder right there on a quiet ass 44 bus.
Right.
In the middle of the summertime.
Now I'm definitely gonna touch others using the word, or at least hearing it, and because I feel like when I was coming up with this topic, I felt like this conversation had to be had as well. It's not just me saying real nigga. It's not me just saying that. What do we do when others use it? So I want to actually have feedback on that too. But before I do have the question, and I have it on my banner there. Sorry. If I deny being a real N-word, does that invalidate the authenticity of my blackness? Do I have to own it?
Do you have to own not being a real N-word? Is that what you're asking?
Well, if I deny being one, if I say I don't want to own that at all, does that mean I'm cashing in my blackness?
That doesn't invalidate, because the thing about it is you still get the same treatment as any other black man. You know what I mean? For the most part, you're still subject to the same inequities. You're still subject to the same prejudices, the same predispositions of some people. You know what I mean? I tell people, when people try to distance themselves from their blackness, and some people do it by choice, when they try to do that, I tell them, if the police were looking for you, if they start off the description as, black male, 6'2", black male, then that's how the world sees you, and you have to deal with that whether you like it or not. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so like I said, having worked in an environment where 95% of the people you came in contact with on a day-to-day basis were white people, and having worked in that environment for years and years and years, I can tell you that they're literally one incident away from looking at you in that way. As much as they might be comfortable having certain conversations with you, or they feel like, you're one of the quote unquote good ones that, what I mean?
Yeah.
What have you. And I remember an incident working in the stock market. At that time, you really had to, it was like a shirt and tie environment at that time. You know what I mean?
Right.
So realistically, the only time they really didn't mind you coming in anything less than that was when it was a snow day. So, you could get away with, jeans and boots or what have you on a snow day. So this one day it was snowing and I had a cap on, and I was sitting at the trading desk as always, and I had been working there 7, 8 years by that point. And I told one of my buddies, I said, watch this. And all I did, literally, I had a baseball cap on, and all I did was turn my cap to the side, literally. And people that I had known for 7 years, they act like they were afraid to approach me. They went from like, what's up with so-and-so? He seems like he's got an attitude today. And nothing else about me changed other than the fact that my hat was to the side. And
Understood.
It totally threw white people for a loop. Totally. And they had, you know what I mean? Like a totally different person. Just something that small gave them a totally different perception of who I was, and not in light of the fact that they had known me for as long as they did. You know what I mean?
Now I would definitely say I think we understand that as adults now that they were actually reacting to the perception of you.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It was like, well, you didn't see him 5 minutes ago with a tie on, you know. So I'll give another experience of my own. I work in the corporate world, so when I literally did something like this myself, where I was. I went in. I typically, I'm allowed to go to work with, casual. It's casual all week, whatever. You don't have to wear a tie, whatever. Uh-huh. I usually go in with a polo, some khakis, maybe some like low cut Timbs or something. Just laid back, in the corporate world. And I decided for 1 week, I was going to be suited and booted and cut to the butt. I was going to come in there looking like $1 million. And all I'm doing is my everyday job, right? Now, again, I'm in corporate, but no one really saw me that way, unless they saw me on my interview day. Yeah. But other than that, I said, I'm going to just hurt them. I'm going to kill them when I get in there with this, just lace up. When I tell you the respect level I saw from people that didn't know me, I was getting hellos. I was getting like friendly nods because they didn't understand. They didn't know whether or not I was in a higher position than them.
Okay, exactly. Yeah.
So I was walking in areas that I don't usually frequent. I was like, "What the hell is this?" Like I didn't think I was going to get that kind of response. I even got it from the people that did know me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That did know me and may have not said anything to me, but they saw me walk through the halls. They know me, my face. And I was like, what the hell was that? Like, it was weird. I started getting different people of different levels. Now, I'm not talking just the people in the office. I started getting bosses of bosses of bosses having conversations with me like, dude, I've been here 3 years. And you never even stopped by my desk.
Yep.
All because I dressed up and I presented myself a certain way. I just didn't think it would be that drastic when I saw it. I was intrigued, but also I was a little hurt because I was like, damn. So, I'm getting judged no matter what. But apparently you think I'm more approachable if I put on a tie and, some slacks. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it was shocking to experience it because it was just something I decided to do for a whole week. I'm going to just knock it out. It was shocking, man. It was shocking.
And you wonder, why you can't get that level of respect. Just that can't be the default setting. The level of respect can't be the default setting across the board. You know what I mean? And because I would imagine that you're expected to give that level of respect. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And
because you don't want to be the angry black guy. You don't want to be the combative black guy.
Yep.
So it's like towing that line. I hate saying that because at the same time, because of my past experiences, it makes me feel like I'm denying a part of myself. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because I know how the culture works. I know, the names people get called when people feel like they're kissing ass and this and that. It's like, but it's not about that. I would love for people to respect me the way I respect them.
Yeah.
But I don't have their perception of me the way they have it. They immediately have something. It's either good or bad, but why does it have to be based on the jacket I'm wearing or the, it doesn't say, it doesn't have a gang name on it. It doesn't.
But, the people that, like I said, that go that extra mile to make people in those environments feel comfortable. You know what I mean? And we've all seen the people who laugh extra hard at the stupid jokes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Or wanna, yeah, I've literally heard, I used to work with a woman, right? And she used to have this exaggerated country accent for around white people. I'm like, what do you know what I mean? I'm like, and they would laugh at certain stuff she said, but I'm like, I'm thinking in my mind, they're laughing at you. They're not laughing with you because you're in there acting like you got a bucket of chicken in one arm and a watermelon under the other arm. You know what I mean? They're not. They don't respect that shit. What do you know what I mean? You're making a fool out of yourself.
Right.
But some people don't realize that. They're so intent on wanting to make white people feel comfortable, and you know what I mean, and they're thinking that that's going to gain them some, you know, extra level of acceptance. But in most cases, they're looked at with you know, a certain eye of derision, in a sense. You know.
Yes, I get it. I totally get it. I get it. I do have another question before I get to the other video. So we talked about if we deny being a real N-word, whether or not it questions the level of your blackness. But if I accept the real N-word title, does that expose the depth of my ignorance? Does that mean I don't know? I don't know really what I'm accepting. It was like me putting me back in 5th grade when I'm like, I don't even know what I just had in me, but that rage was in me. I couldn't explain it. Mm-hmm. Do I accept that as being my norm, that anybody that snaps off me, I got to show them and I got to prove and or like, you know, should I deny it and say, hey, look, I have a better way out of this than just punching somebody in the face? Does that make sense?
That is definitely a tough question to answer. And the reason I say that is because along with that label comes a certain expectation of a level of being willing to go to a certain level as it relates to defending your pride, or, you know, in the Latin culture, machismo, or what, you know, however you want to term it. You know what I mean? And that is something that it's almost like not acceptable to look for the peaceful way out. It's you know what I mean? Mm-hmm, so it's a fine line, because as critical thinkers, we understand that the consequences, and typically if your life is in a situation where you have so much more going on than some of the people that you interact with, and you have more to lose, whether it's a job, it could be family, it could be a career, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're tempted. Now this might be, it might not even be in the neighborhood. It could be in the workplace, because I've had that happen to me in the workplace. I had a guy say some shit to me one time, and I was like, okay, all right, well, let's, you know, I'll see. And this was literally working in the stock market. When the market closes, let's discuss that outside. And no sooner than I said that, he's like, oh man, he's, you know, and I hadn't been there that long at the time. So he literally was turning to our coworkers, oh, you know, and giving them the angry black. He's, you know, I kind of knew he was the angry black guy. He comes across as mild mannered, but we knew that angry black guy was just beneath the surface. Don't, you know what I mean? So even there's that expectation of other people. But like I said, in the hood and neighborhood, you know, and I grew up playing ball all over the city. You know what I mean? And you're always going to have people who, they don't know you. You know, some people play a certain way. Some people, and you got people that's just going to try you just because they don't know you. You know what I mean? And so it's like if you don't push back, if you don't set the line or set the expectation or gain a certain level of respect, you're going to be getting pushed around the whole game. And if that escalates to some kind of standoff or pushing or somebody swing at somebody and you're the one to back down, then you can kind of expect that treatment, you know what I mean,
Yep.
for as long as you're there. So again, you have to know in your mind how far you're willing to go in order to just maintain a degree, because obviously you're not going to be the one to just deal with that, just under any circumstances. You know what I mean? And
Right.
most of us have been taught it's better to be the hammer than the nail. You know what I mean? So if it looks like it's going there, then if it's inevitable, then you need to be the one to be setting it off first. You know what I mean? Instead of being standing there holding your eyeball, wondering what the fuck happened. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah. Now I probably didn't play to the levels of ball that you did. Of course, I played ball, but I wasn't any good really. I hit a hell of a three though, but
okay.
I was scared of that paint. I was a little short guy. I was like 5 feet back in high school, so I was a tiny guy. I wasn't jumping all that stuff. But anyway, I knew the rules. I knew the rules, and if somebody tries to punk you, look, you better stand up or it's gonna keep happening.
Exactly.
You better stand your ground because it's gonna happen. Yeah. So that I guess once you come out of the neighborhood, they call it street ball or whatever. Yeah, whatever. But I knew the rules, which is why I stayed out of that paint.
Because certain areas, I mean, if you want to play gentleman ball, then you better be in the suburbs somewhere.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If a white guy knock you down, he want to help you up and pat you on the butt, but you know what I mean? But if you have Parkside or at Tustin or something like that, that shit ain't gonna happen. You know what I mean?
You can get in a fight if somebody calling a soft foul.
Yeah.
Like, that wasn't a foul. You fouled me. Like that could be a big thing. Yeah. But yeah. So as far as the workplace goes, for me, I think I've only had a situation where I had to put somebody in their place because I actually felt like they were doing things to really antagonize me. I'm typically professional. I'm not, I treat people with respect regardless of who they are. I expect it back, right? I'm not asking for it. I expect it. So if you don't give it to me, unless I need to speak to you, I'll just keep my distance because I don't need to be bothered with you. And I literally had a Q mate say some of the goofiest shit I've ever heard in the workplace. I'm talking to another, it's a black guy, another black coworker, and we're talking about family. It was like a little break. We're taking a break, talking about family. How was your holiday? And the guy behind me is, some little tiny white guy with a real bad attitude about life. I guess he hates himself. I don't know, whatever his problem was. He was talking. He got into my conversation that I was having about the car show that they have in Center City every year, or whatever. And he said under his breath, "Let me guess, you were looking for those cars with the bouncy tires and the shiny rims."
Wow. Yeah.
I turned around and I'm like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah.
And I literally, in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm not going to lose everything I got for this guy, but he better know, don't ever do this or we can handle this outside. So in a polite way, at least it was polite in my head. I'm like, dude, one, no one was talking to you. And two, if you got something like that to say to me to my face, we all get out here at 5 o'clock. I can see you in the parking lot, and we don't ever have to talk after that.
Yeah.
Like I really wanted to put them paws on him right at that moment. Like I really wanted to, but I'm like, nah, because I know where I am. I know he ain't gonna mess up my livelihood.
Yeah.
But if he wants this work, we can go right outside on off hours and handle this.
Yeah. The funny thing is, some of them say certain things to get a reaction, and then others of them are literally just have no clue about black people. They think that they see us as a monolith. You know what I mean? And so some of those things can be said in just out of sheer ignorance.
Right. Right.
So But usually they make the ones who are being sarcastic, you can really kind of tell, you know what I mean?
Right.
In the tone, you can really kind of tell who is just genuinely confused about black culture, about black people, about how we live, you know what I mean, about what we eat, and, you know what I mean, those kinds of things, you know what I
Right.
mean? Because
I totally get you.
yeah, I had someone come back from lunch and literally blurt out, "Oh my God, you would have loved where we went. They had the best chicken." You know what I mean? Why the fuck you coming telling me? You know what I mean? Seriously. And it makes you like, and they're not. And again, you in this particular case, they're saying it totally out of naivete.
Yes.
And they think they're being endearing to you by putting you up on game that is a place in downtown Philly that got some chicken that you might not know about. You know what I mean? So, you have to really be perceptive as to how people mean things and try not to be on the defensive all the time, because then you truly get known as the angry black person.
Yeah, picking your spots. So along those lines, and I appreciate the conversation. I thank you for opening up Unadulterated. I definitely appreciate you just sharing your experiences. I'm trying to do the same. Make sure people get to know me every episode of these lives that I do. So what I want to do is go into a short video that's along the lines of, who do we allow to use that word and why? So
okay,
let me see if hopefully I do this right. Hold on.
Traditional High School is in the middle of a racial controversy right now. A teacher used the N-word towards a student. The word is only 6 letters long, but the impact is far-reaching. And we do want to warn you that some of the language in this story is strong, and it may offend you, it may offend some other people. But since the story is not just about the N-word, it's also about the teacher's intent and definition of the word, we have decided to leave it in the story for you to decide.
And what did he say specifically to you?
Sit down, nigga.
Keyshawn Chavers is a freshman at Valley High School, a Boy Scout, a football player, a member of the ROTC, an honor roll student. He was hanging around his teacher's classroom door in December. The teacher told him to sit down, and the teacher says that Keyshawn used the N-word first.
And I just kind of was stunned a second. Well, then get away from the door, nigga. And I repeated the same insult because that's sort of what I've been trained to do.
The school district says that is not what they trained English teacher Paul Dawson to do.
He tried to say I said it, and I didn't say it, and no one else in the class knows that I said it because I didn't.
Documents from the school investigation show that several of the students interviewed from Valley did not hear Keyshawn say the N-word first. Dawson says that students use the slang version of the N-word at Valley High School all the time. He says N-I-G-G-E-R is a racial slur, but says that students use N-I-G-G-A as often as they'd say dude or hey man. And Dawson says as much as he does not like the word, he still used the slang version to feel more comfortable with black students.
Why is this word used so frequently? So I just don't understand it, and I'm trying to understand it. I need help. Yes, I use nigga. I've used it. I admit it. I put the H on it to emphasize it's nigga. That, nigga this, nigga please, nigga. Can you lend a nigga a pencil?
Oh my God. Yo. But you can tell in the way you can tell he's heard these kids use it. You can tell that that's the thing about it. And I'm gonna tell you again, having spent so much time in the workplace and working around white people, a lot of them they view black men as the standard of cool. That's beyond a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
And they want almost every interaction you have with a white man, at some point he wants to call you bro. It's like his way of letting you know that he wants to feel cool with you. That's his way of extending, you know what I mean, some sort of handshake. It's like a nonverbal handshake or something. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like I said, you can tell that this guy has seen kids interact with each other, and for some reason, he thought that he could engage in that sort of communication himself.
Yes. And that right there is the danger of just using it so freely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, you're not the only one listening. Everybody around you can hear that. And it's getting so comfortable that, you know, yeah. So my points that I had for this is I started writing down kind of those unwritten rules of growing up, and I'm sure you know these. One of the rules that I have is never use it in the presence of mixed company.
Yes. For sure.
That is a very common unwritten rule, but we seem to violate that now. Like that's not even a thing anymore. Like
but a lot of that largely is due to, you know, because it's used so frequently in music, and they embrace what is seen as our music. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You know, so and another thing is that in some of the mixed communities, now growing up where you did, you know, you're familiar with the dynamics of certain areas of North Philly. Think about how many neighborhoods are nothing but black and Puerto Rican. And black people don't get offended when Puerto Ricans call them that. They don't get offended when they call each other that. Right. You know what I mean? And because so many of them have mixed families between them. You know what I mean? Right. So if you know, and I'm sure it's largely the same way in different parts of New Jersey and New York, you know, and it's almost like we draw the line. It's almost like in some instances we're cool with certain Latinos using it, but we draw the line at Asians and whites. You know what I mean? Right. But again, we have to, you know, look back at how often we use it and the comfort level because they see it as a cultural thing. You know, it's almost like we feel like, or they feel like if we share the same musical taste, we listen to rap music too. You know what I mean? So you expect us not to use it when it's in all the songs. You know what I mean? Right. So a lot of that is where the roads kind of cross each other, and we're thinking like, okay, we're glad that you buy the music and that you know, like all the songs and all that kind of stuff, but we don't want you using the word. You know what I mean? And at that point, you know, we have to look at it in terms of the, you know, how it, like it says, and Cutie has the ideal term, the double standard. You know, we have to decide, you know, if it's such a damaging word, why do we use it so frequently with each other, but then we get so incredibly offended if other people use it in a lot of instances. So
yes. So that ties exactly into my next point here of the usage of the word. Never allow others to use it. Anyone outside the race using the word gets dealt with. That's one of those. I guess I was taught that before I even knew that I was going to be doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
It was just something that was ingrained that I picked up along the way. Like, don't ever let anybody disrespect you to that level.
Yep, for sure.
You know. So my question to that is, and I'm going to go a little bit of a slow rant here. How do we determine who others are? By their skin tone, speech, and presence? How do we know what other is? That how do we constitute whether or not somebody can say it? Do we know what their history is in the hood or what validates them being other or not being part of the crew to actually use it is what I'm saying. And also, does this process of elimination sound familiar? Because it is not a tool. This is not the. I'm sorry, I did a typo there. It's not a tool used to exclude the so-called. Is this not a tool used to exclude the so-called black man from anything institutionally beneficial? These are the same three criterion that's used to eliminate people out of things, but yet we use it to determine who can say the N-word. We're doing it to ourselves, the same thing that's happening to us at a higher level. It's almost like this inner fighting. You know, I guess the house Negro versus field Negro type fight. You know, if you keep them busy, then they can never come together.
Yeah,
just keep them swirling around in a circle, fighting over the most mundane things, and they're not even paying attention that it's already happening to you upstairs.
Yeah.
And that to me was the eye opener for me. Like I said, when I started doing research on this topic, I kind of hit that wall. Like, wait a minute, this is very similar. It's almost identical to how we are ostracized, marginalized. Yeah, based on skin tone, speech, and assumed presence. I don't want to say presence, assumed presence. Similar to what you said, unadulterated. People, when you put that backwards hat on, you're in a different light, you know?
Yeah.
And I think DL said it the best. He said the worst place a black man can exist is in the minds of white people. Now, I know that's a general statement. I'm not going to say all white people think like that, but there is some truth to that, meaning I'm not the angry black man in my life, but in your head, I am.
Yeah.
And because you see me as that, that's where the danger comes in. Because now I'm a threat in your head.
Yeah.
I'm a threat.
And not only, it's funny. Sometimes they can view you as a threat. And then in other instances, they want you to validate them or protect them. I remember distinctly when they were having the Rodney King riots, right? And I remember the day in a couple of days after, especially the following day, there was largely rumors because some cities were starting to riot individually as well, aside from LA. And obviously I was living in Philly at the time, right? So we're watching like Financial News Network or CNN, and they're talking about these different riots that are supposedly breaking out across the country as it's going on in LA, right? So I remember, like I said, there were rumors that there were riots starting to kick off in downtown Philly. And I remember a white guy asking me to walk him to the train station as if I was going to stop any black people. Yo, he's with me, y'all. Hold up.
Right.
You know? Like, what do you mean walk you to the train station? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, they can use it to separate themselves and view you in one negative light, or if they feel like it can be useful, then they use it, certain things to be a connecting point with you.
Right. Honestly, I hope you were honest with that guy. Like, if they jump on you, I ain't doing shit.
Exactly, for real. You know what I mean? And considering the guy I might have got in and kicked my damn self.
Right.
The fuck you mean walk you to the train station?
Like, if they show up, I don't know you.
Yeah, but it's one of those things, man. Looking back at it, sometimes you can laugh, and then sometimes it still pisses you off, But all those things are experiences that we chalk up and hopefully make us better people or more discerning as we deal with things in the future.
Right. I appreciate you again for even opening up to talk about this. These are one of those taboo conversations, man. You know, like we
Mhm.
throw the word around a lot, but at the same time, we don't necessarily deal with it. You know,
Yeah.
we've
Yep.
accepted it in our I'm fighting myself calling culture black culture. I'm not a fan of saying that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
Mhm.
black is it's too broad of a term to even consider it to
Mhm.
be a culture, because you know how many subcultures are under that. It's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's why I'm again. This is me thinking now as a little older. I'm like, I got to change the way I say things
And
because
one of
it's
the things
different.
we have to look at is equating street culture with black culture. Those things are
Yes.
not synonymous to a lot of us. You know what I mean? And
Yes.
that's what the media has been portraying through music and movies and what have you for a long time, that street culture and black culture are one and the same. You know what I
Right.
mean? And if you're not a part of quote unquote street culture, then you're not black enough. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you know,
It's a tug of war that we have to play because we still want to exist. We want to do great things for our family, but at the same time, we don't want to make ourselves look like we're a contradiction within ourselves. Like I'm proud of who I am, right?
yeah, hmm
But just because you think that black is associated with street, it's like, well, wait, why did you do that?
hmm
You know,
yeah,
like if
yeah,
you don't know the black experience, then why did you know to do that?
yeah, yeah.
You know, you had to have
hmm
been fed that, but you know, most times others are not willing to listen to that because you're
yeah.
sounding angry now. You're
hmm
sounding angry. Please sit down, sir. But yeah, yeah. So where did I leave off? So yeah, I definitely feel like we need to have these conversations more as a
hmm
collective. We've been running around these YouTube streets doing some crazy things in this sector, not just YouTube, but in this sector specifically, because
hmm
that's the only sector I've really been rocking with in the last couple of months. You know, and I've seen some crazy things, and I feel like these lanes need to be opened.
hmm
We need to understand like some of the things that we're saying to each other and some of the things that we're doing and moving, and
hmm
we need to understand like there's others listening. This is not just me and you arguing on the phone or on the internet, you know.
exactly.
We need to understand that like it doesn't matter about, you know, what ego needs to be stroked. There's a
hmm
bigger thing here. There's a bigger movement here. We don't need to do this even with a disagreement.
Yeah, because
Even with a disagreement.
I'm gonna tell you something. I think when you look at what can happen, when you allow YouTube to uh, I won't say control so much of your life, but kind of manipulate your emotions throughout so much of your day. Because a lot of us, and I know sometimes I fall into that category. You're checking your phone to see who's live or who reacted to this or who
Hey,
did
that's how
what.
you got here, right?
Yeah, you know what I mean? Exactly. And I have the only other, I guess, quote unquote, community that I'm, really, really follow closely in terms of subs and what have you. And I'll subscribe to a lot of channels related to jujitsu, but primarily boxing. And
Okay.
so a guy who has and I consider him to be, just a cool guy on YouTube. Actually, he's probably the only other person that I have a wrench on their channel, but he has a fairly substantial boxing channel. And he had gotten embroiled in a situation that really led to him just needing to take just a break from YouTube. He was like literally on the verge of a breakdown. You know what I
Wow.
mean? Through just YouTube beef and constant back and forth, and
It
I'm
can
talking
pull
about,
you dark, man. It can pull
yeah,
you into a dark
yeah,
space.
and I'm talking about, this is a guy who is an extremely successful businessman, and he does the YouTube thing, at his leisure. But he's built a really great channel that gives a lot of insight in behind the sport. I mean, the business of boxing. But he had to let it go for a while because it was really beginning to consume him. The negativity of it all, and everything that goes with it. So that's one of the I'm not a content creator because I never want to get involved in the all of the madness of it all. But I caution the people that do decide to do that to try not to be so consumed with the negative, some of the negative
It's hard,
aspects of
dude,
it. But
man.
yeah,
It's
trust me, I know
hard, man.
it's hard to look away. You know what I mean?
Especially when somebody says your name. But the weird part is none of us are really using our real name. So why are we
Yeah,
so
yeah.
attached to it? I
Mhm.
fell down that rabbit. I went down that rabbit hole quite a few times myself. I'm human.
Mhm.
It's like, wait, who says something about me? What? And you feel like you got to defend it. You feel like you got
Mhm.
to defend it. But
Wow.
yeah, I'm trying to. I don't want to say right my wrongs because
Mhm.
it was just at the moment I reacted to the moment, and now I'm kind of moving a little different now.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And I am not a typical creator. If 10 people are in here, 5 people, 20, I don't look, whoever's listening, thank you for listening. Catch me on the replay if you can, but I'm not here for the numbers. Like, I feel like a voice needs to be heard.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
feel like there has to be something else other than just, housewives type beef. This is housewives of YouTube. Like it's a huge thing.
Yeah,
I know it
that's
draws a
funny.
crowd.
Yeah.
But in
Mhm.
order for it to be sustainable, there's going to be some pain that comes with that. Because now we're taking levels of like doxing is nothing now. Like we just accept it now
That's
as being
expected. Yeah,
something,
it's expected. Yeah.
and that's sad in itself. That's sad in itself. Like, wait a
Mhm.
minute, why is it so personal that you now coming at me, or coming at my family? No one did that to me, but I've seen
Mhm.
people do it,
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
I'm thinking, is this like why is it going that far? I don't want to feel like I'm talking to people and I'm preaching to people either, but that doesn't mean the voice doesn't need to be heard.
Mhm.
Right. And I'm not coming in here just trying to get, subs, and I got to get to 1,000 so I can make money off YouTube. Look, whatever I make off YouTube is YouTube. This is
Mhm.
not my bread and butter,
Yeah,
but it's
yeah.
definitely something I feel like there's a lane that I'm sort of walking, and I've been
Yeah,
walking before I even knew it was a
and it's
lane.
needed. It's needed.
Yeah, yeah.
Sort of balance.
And I'm so nervous about using the word needed. I called the show Wanted because I
Mhm.
didn't want to come off as saying, sorry, Umar, but that's the language he uses. You need me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah.
You
Well, that makes
need
sense.
me.
Mhm.
And I didn't want that to be that. I'm saying it's wanted because it's definitely something that I want to be as a presence of where I walk, where I am, if I walk in a room, I want that to be part of it. It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be if you don't want it to be, but
Mhm.
it's wanted to some degree. So I'm trying to speak from the person that I'm speaking to. We're on the same level. I'm
Mhm.
not any better than anybody on here. I'm just speaking my speech, and hopefully you rock with me. If you don't, that's fine. No hard
Yeah.
feelings. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna dox you.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's not
man.
my speed. But definitely, I want to bring that voice. That's the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah. I hear you. Well,
But
it seems like it's going well so far, man. But listen, I appreciate you having me on as
yes.
always. I'll be getting back, get some stuff taken care of, and
Okay.
I'll be listening in for sure. And keep it going, man. Like I said, I think it's headed in a nice direction. And
Appreciate that,
you
and
know,
I appreciate your time, man.
man, pleasure's all mine. Okay,
Philly love,
Talk-
man.
that's what's up. Okay,
All right, man.
all
Peace.
right, peace, peace to the chat.
That was nice. Someone graced me with their time and their energy and their experiences. That's all I'm asking for. So I am going to move into my closing statement. I do not want to go over 2 hours. 1.5 is where I was trying to shoot for. I think I'm doing perfect timing right now, but no more than 2. I wanted to be more of a good listen back. It's kind of hard to listen to 8-hour lives. That's really tough. So I'm holding, and I think Binary would be proud of me. I'm holding it to 2 hours max. So final thoughts. Last call for anyone wanting to drop or come up, give their little piece on what's been discussed thus far. Do your thing. Otherwise, I'm probably going to go into a zone for about 2-3 minutes and kind of wrap up this topic. And then if we want to talk about other things, we can. I just want to make sure that the story flows well with just wrap up points. So here we go. So from where I stand, we need to rethink how we deal with this so-called N-word. I mean, it's so controversial, but it's been controversial for how long? How long are we going to keep calling it controversial, but we won't actually discuss it and actually try to move forward with a solution? And it's not an overnight thing. It's so ingrained in everything we do, everything. I mean, it's so commercialized now that, you know, more generations are just going to be desensitized to it. It's just what it's going to be, you know, moving forward. But what I wanted to mention was I wanted to talk about just the history of it. Oh, and actually, Keeper had a question. I'm sorry, Keeper. You did have a question. Who came up with nigga and why? Why wasn't it created and used by a young generation of hip hop, so-called black and brown folk? I did touch on that earlier. When I started doing like just digging up information about just the history and timelines and all that stuff, I did come to the conclusion that yes, it is part of the early stages of hip hop. But understand, if it is in the early stages of hip hop, that means it existed before hip hop because it was already in the language. It was already in the culture of whatever was about to brew. So I don't think hip hop generated the word. Now, when you start popularizing the music, of course, it's going to spread a little faster than not. So, yeah, I thought the same thing going in that, that was when it became a term of endearment. It was hip hop. Like I almost felt proud to say that at one point, that, you know, it was embraced. Until I started asking the question, why am I embracing that? Why am I loving that? Why am I holding on to that? And I didn't have an answer. So that made me research a little more. And it's like, well, wait, it didn't originate there. It was sort of bubbling up already. And then it got popularized because the music became popular. So I don't want to just put it on a genre of music of saying that's where it came from. So, hey, Skull Drag, I see you're in the building. Danny Brown, I appreciate it. Binary, what's good? I'm going through the chat. All right, I think I see. Yeah, Karma 52, I know you're still here. I'm Nevea. Hey, hi, how's it going? Appreciate that. Just showing up. So let me jump back into my final thought. So what I didn't want to do with this conversation was start playing the blame game. You know, who did this? You did that. I did that. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You called me. I didn't want to do that with this topic. It's very hard to keep it in this bubble of just defining, you know, N-word, a real N-word, and all those things, and kind of keep it in a little bubble. But I did the best I could on that. But I have to make mention that the same institution that stripped the people of color of its language, its culture, and its God is the same institution that introduced them to the concept of marginalization of self. And unfortunately, as a whole, we bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. At this point, we now feel like being a real nigga is something we gotta embrace. I challenge that wholeheartedly. That's not something I can't even envision myself teaching any child that I have on this planet. Like, no. We have to do better than that. So again, I'm not on a soapbox. I'm speaking from just things that I've seen, things that I've experienced, and I'm sharing. This is not a good move for us if the plan is to grow. And that's what I want. That's what I want to make sure I stay on the path of. If that's what we're trying to do is grow, then sometimes somebody's going to have to say the things that we really don't want to hear. We really don't want to experience because it's uncomfortable. I know how comfortable it is to call somebody, yeah, what's up, nigga? Like, I get it. Trust me, I get it. Probably did it 2 days ago. Who knows? I know because it's comfortable. But once you ask the question why you do that, that's when it gets a little shaky as far as the comfort level. So throughout history, we've accepted last names from the people that gave it to us. And I want to say people. I don't want to, because white people aren't the only people that enslaved people of color. Let's be clear. But in this country, that last name we had to accept. Why? Because we were property. We were property. That's the whole point of having papers. You were property. And another topic I'm going to get on one day is the idea of a marriage license, because the inception of that actually was property as well. We can talk about that at another time. We've also accepted a cultureless racial classification of Black. I am not denouncing who I am or what I am. I'm proud of what I've become, what I am, my experiences. But the term itself does not tell you anything about me. Anything about my mother, grandmother, great-grandmother, and so on. It doesn't tell you anything. It just tells you about a perception, an idea of what people think Black is. But understand, the idea that you have, your neighbor doesn't have that exact same idea of what Black is, unfortunately. So what do you do with that? I don't know. The derogatory label as a term of endearment, nigga. I've seen it. I mean, I was a little young when hip hop hit first, so I wasn't really paying attention that deep. But I am sort of a hip hop historian. I will go back to the late 70s, early 80s rap. I still pull that stuff out every now and again. I like seeing where that stuff came from, and I see how all these young kids are have no appreciation for how things actually evolved. So I've grown accustomed to just trying to learn about where things came from. And why we've accepted that I don't know. I don't know why we accepted that as a greeting, as a yo, what's up? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me, and I wasn't going to do research just to, if I didn't find it, I just didn't find it. I did not find a reason or a valid reason. Trust me, I was digging. I was literally just trying to find, why is this, like, the first time that was even heard, why is that accepted? That word. Why that word? Now as far as the hip hop culture goes, we've created language. You've used it in your everyday life when you say things are bad, when you really mean good. That was part of that movement. That was, that's hot. It's not really hot. It just means it's nice. There was a language that was created with all that stuff. So intertwined in that was that word. And it became bro, homie, my ace. It means all of the above. But if you're actually going up against somebody, it also means other things outside of being just, supportive in nature. But also what we've accepted from this, from our generous hosts, our God. And I'm going to let that sink in a little bit, because that's a little uncomfortable. We were given that, people. We were given that one. Because we never even thought to ask, well, what the hell were we doing before we got here? Do you know? That's a deep one. It's probably another topic for another day. But, so now, to wrap it up, what do we do with all this? I've been on there for almost 2 hours. What are we doing? Are we now accepting it? Are we moving forward with it? Are we going to now from this point stop saying it? Are we going to, honestly speaking, that's not the purpose of why I'm doing this. I just want the conversation to be had. And that's a starting point, right? That's not the answer. That's not, I know some people may feel like, man, all this and we didn't, like, what's the solution? I didn't say I was going to have one. But my main objective was to discuss it. That's it. I mean, that's the first thing. How do you deal with a thing if you don't talk about a thing? We have to talk about it first. Then we have to discuss, penalties, consequences, all those things. We have to come together. So that is part of my goal, to come together. We can't do it if we're not talking. We can't talk about a topic if it's too insensitive. No, we got to talk about everything if we're willing to move forward with it. So, cool. I think I had enough of that. So, let me go back to this chat because I do not have any more words on the topic. If anybody has any final words, chime in. I'm willing to listen. Definitely willing to listen. But I'm willing to listen, not to be having someone agree. I'm looking for a challenge too. That's what gets me up in the morning. I get up to challenges. That's what wakes me up. When someone tells me it's impossible, I usually come back and say, I usually ask, are you sure? Are you positive that that's how that is? So I'm not fearful of it, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. So I guess this is a little too much of a sensitive topic for anybody to touch. So if anybody wants to come and talk about anything, I don't care if it's sector stuff, whatever else. I have a few more minutes to go. I do not want to, doesn't have to end on a down slope. I know the conversation got a little deep at that very end, but hopefully you guys understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, though. I hope that's understood. And now I'm asking questions everywhere I go now. What is your purpose? Because I've asked myself that a million times. Why? Because my wife asked me the same question. I don't know why you do what you do. And then I had to ask myself that question. Why am I doing this? Am I just attracted to the train wrecks? No, I think it's more than that. I know that's how I got here. But I'm definitely not. I guess I'm not your typical, I'm looking for 1,000 subs. I honestly, it would be nice to get there, but that's not, monetization is not even something that it's not even on my mind. It's just, one, I'm getting the vent, and two, people are getting to know me, and three, I'm learning experiences. How much more can I ask for at that point? Because that's part of the reason why I'm here. So with that, I am going to wrap it up. So please subscribe to the channel. I will put the channel link up here. Sorry, I don't have it all ready to go. Here we go. So yeah, please subscribe to the channel. We got more coming. I have ideas for more topics, probably going to be along these lines. It's that voice that I want. I know some of you want, but it's uncomfortable. I get it. But we must have the conversation. Thanks for listening. I will catch you guys on another live. I appreciate everybody coming through. And I will leave you with, obviously, the one track that I only have. I got more coming, but right now, this is the only one I actually love hearing. I still love hearing this track. But yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Have a good night.
the Negro still is not free.
We are oppressed. We are exploited. We are downtrodden. We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
Manifest how great you are. Dream about your greatness.
Come hell or high water, I'm going after my
greatness, greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. How can I fake this humbly gracious to have this greatness, greatness? Every time I wake, this greatness takes this black man higher places. Elevated magic strapped to my back with the fact that I deserve higher praises. Based on my race. Last place is the only status. Placed in the basement with no way out. What's the basis? Look around. All I see are familiar faces with that greatness gazes. Make me wonder what this baseless, tasteless trace of races. Pointless to think you can keep me down and back in cages. Shackle minds like captives with the rubber band embraces. Breaking chains every day that oppress my people for ages. Faceless acts of rages because of what my race is. I'm gonna say this price is way too high. Who's gonna pay this? Conversations of reparations ain't even enough to erase this. Can't get enough of us. We're on your favorite playlist, but you play us out. Just comply and fucking take this. I now see my greatness and I know you really hate this. You can't debate this. I define what my inner grace is. If it's a true test from God, then I'm gonna ace this. Is this God within me? I'm not gonna waste this. Every day the media portray cop car chases of people with the same faces, which is nothing but misguided greatness. Driving aimless and hungry, not knowing death is what that taste is. Gripping tight on the wheel. Jesus, take this. Gripping hard on that steel, death or jail is what my fate is. Survival by any means is the meal. Don't forsake this. There should be more for us. Life can play tricks. Where's our Morpheus? We're stuck in a matrix. Reflections of our Savior has been blurred by all this fake shit. Looking to the sky for hope is done or quite pervasive. Killing those who find the knowledge quite persuasive. Once I'm labeled as abrasive, soon to follow evasive. Savage is what we're told the angry black man is laced with. Change the context, change the narrative with what we're graced with. Pop that chain of mental restraint and fly like we are weightless. Mother Nature has the key. Please open the gate, man. I'm here to claim my throne. Don't step on my cake, man. Black Panther to the bone. No need to rate this. Greatness, greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. Make sure you get to take this and loop back for all the late kids. All the boys and girls who don't think that their lives are precious. All the people who feel circumstances are a death wish. All the talent within that we are blessed with should be acknowledged, not demolished by the oppressor. That's our true resume. Extremely impressive. I got nothing left to say, but we can send it for that greatness. Greatness, 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 greatness. We have a long road ahead to overcome this blatant hatred. We have a long road ahead to overcome this blatant hatred.